Yes, there you go. I like this better. Hey guys, welcome to another bi-weekly Meatgistics live stream. We have Austin up here for just a couple of minutes as I want to get his reaction to us watching something that he hasn't seen yet. A topic that we talked a decent amount about somewhat recent. Oh, I can't do it there, so you're not going to be able to hear it. Okay. It's fine. So we'll describe to you guys what we're seeing, and I'll post the link. This is a guy who is out hiking, and there's a mountain lion. And that mountain lion is not intimidated by this man at all. In fact, it walks towards him numerous times. I think he's got a great presence of mind to grab his phone. That would be the last thing I would think of. It charges him. He has no option and has to shoot it with his handgun as it's charging him from 5 yards away.
So did
he got it. Oh yeah, he got it.
Dang.
Right through the head. I mean, oh my good Lord. You can hear it in his voice, and unfortunately, you guys will post the link. You can listen to it later. Like, his voice is shaking. Like, the adrenaline dump that this man must have gone through. He got it right in the head. Dropped it right there.
Did he? So the question is, did he leave it, or did he?
So I believe he called, I can't remember where it was. Maybe it's called DCS, wherever they are. He called and reported the incident right away, and I believe they came and took it. But he dropped it with a shot to the head with a handgun as it was charging. Now, here's, obviously, I'm not passing any judgments on this man. What he did was amazing, saved his life. Would you have fired a warning shot down by its paws?
Oh, no.
You wouldn't have.
No, you don't. When
Here.
you have to draw your gun to shoot or do something, I mean, you are using force to stop. No matter the situation, you don't fire warning shots. You shoot to stop.
So intellectually, I get that, but I look at that and I can't help but now I'm questioning whether or not I could hunt mountain lion, because I look at that and I see Brutus. Like, he looks very similar to that. He's big, tan, white underneath. So I know it's just, like, you shoot, and Patrick even said if you shoot and startle it, it's going to come. It might come right at you. You might create the attack you're trying to avoid. But look at that marksmanship. Charging mountain lion, I mean, their heads are big, but still only like, what, the size of a soccer ball? Charging at you, and those things are scary fast. Whew.
So wherever this guy was hiking, when are you going to go hiking so we can get a mountain lion?
Oh, yes. That's a good question on whether or not they left it. I'm sure they did. It's a young cat, too. Look how white its teeth are.
I'd take those teeth out and make like a necklace thing or something.
I think then you'd go to jail for poaching. I believe then they would not be okay with it. But yeah, I mean, there better not be a forestry service or whatever anywhere in the country that's going to give him a problem over that. I mean, that's the clear, it's coming right for us from South Park.
It's self-defense, and they have
100%.
video proof.
100%.
So that's crazy, though.
Okay, get out of here.
Okay.
Thanks, Austin. All right, guys, sorry. I had seen that a while ago, and I meant to talk about that and another story we'll get to in a little bit on our last podcast. We didn't get a chance to, so make sure you're entering the giveaway. Looks like you are. We are going to give away a Walton's hat, preferably the black one, but you don't have to do that. As you can see, I've switched to that most of the days, and an artisan apron, as well as 2 things of jerky. So there'll be 4 winners. We're giving away, one person's winning a hat, one person's winning the artisan apron, and then 2 people are going to win jerky and some seasoning of their choice. A couple of things on that. We have done a different batch here. We always do the Walton's Bold Tender Jerky. We really liked that Dragon's Breath kippered beef. For anyone who hasn't seen that yet, I'll post a link to the Dragon's Breath kippered beef because it is great on jerky. I made 2 batches of it recently of the tender jerky using that. One I used soy sauce, and the other one I just used water. So we will look at sending that out instead of the Walton's Bold. So if it's somebody who's won before, it'll be something new for you. All right, so there's the Dragon's Breath. Here is the link to the cat. And be very interested to see what your comments are on the mountain lion. Dogs rule, cats drool. That is not incorrect, but that was Patrick. It's 5 yards, no time for a warning shot. Kill or be killed. Frisco, Texas is here. Never piss off a big kitty. So there's an image, and I'll try and find it too. It's a guy, I assume it was a guy just hiking, and it's like down this clearing. It's a path, and there's a little opening, and there's just a mountain lion in there, and the shoulders on this thing are unreal. And oh my God, you see it, and someone says, "What do you see if you see that?" And I said, "The last thing you're going to say is, here, kitty, kitty, because that thing would take your head off." I am very much, not obsessed, that's too strong a word, but I love looking at mountain lions. I find them to be just fascinating creatures. I mean, it's either the mountain lions or grizzly, Kodiak, brown bears are really like the apex land predators in the United States. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Definitely a difference if you're seeing them in real life. I don't know how I would feel about seeing a grizzly. I feel like with a mountain lion, I'd be able to keep my cool. I don't know about if I could do it as well as that guy did. That guy deserves all the kudos. He did an awesome job.
Well, when you're strapped with a gun like that, then
that helps. That helps for sure. If nothing else, you can end it quickly if the cat gets you. Because I don't believe they're a jaguar will try to bite through your brainstem, so you're dead like that. But a lion will suffocate you. But I think like tigers, mountain lions, things like that, I think they just start eating. I don't believe they kill first, which is also why wolves scare me. Yeah, we should bring up wolves in that, because a pack of wolves is not a good way to go.
I would want to have at least a 45 if I had a handgun, because getting them to stop with
Yeah.
a 9 or with something smaller, it's not good.
My sister just went on a national park tour. I think she went to Glacier, and they were walking around, and she said they close down trails for like 3 weeks at a time when they start seeing bears. Like if they see a grizzly hunting a mama and her cubs, they're like, nobody gets to go on that trail for 3 weeks. She's like, we'd see people walking around with they have their handguns and stuff. And they were talking to a park ranger, and they're like, what do you think about that? Because it's a national park, so they have obviously total reign there, the National Park Services. And they even said, there's no reason to bring any 9mm. You're not doing anything. Like 45, maybe, but probably you have to have really good marksmanship to let that even do anything. I mean, an angry grizzly bear charging you, forget it. Forget it. There's nothing you're going to do. I mean, maybe a saw, what do they call it? Squad action weapon.
Musket.
When I was in high school, I worked at a t-shirt printing company, and one of the guys was in a hunting club with people in Alaska, and they sent me a picture, or they sent him a picture, and I saw it, of some grizzly that a guy had taken from a tree, I believe with a regular bow and arrow. Maybe it was a crossbow. I'm pretty sure it was regular bow and arrow. And the guts it must have taken to take that shot, because you miss, and it knows you were trying for it. It's knocking that tree down and eating you in seconds. All right, I can't find this image that I'm looking for of it down the... it's like an opening in trees. It's almost like a path, and it's standing at the end of it, and its muscles are just absolutely insane. Okay. Grin bears? Grin bears down. I don't know what grin bears is. So DM Conley says, there are bears in our neighborhoods in the spring here in northwest Wisconsin. Not to trivialize that, but black bears, a kid I went to college with, we went to his place in New Jersey. His golden retriever would tree black bears every couple of days. I'm not saying I want to run into them, but two very different animals there, and a black bear and a grizzly. So. The old Disney Davy Crockett. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Uperdog says weak signal. Says we're good. Lynn, is your forestry service admitting that you guys have grizzlies again, or are they still trying to deny that? I know the last time I had heard, Adam Greentree was showing them video evidence of a grizzly in Colorado, and they were saying, nope, you weren't in Colorado, because they were trying to deny that they had grizzlies.
If they're not in Colorado, then where are they? Because that's where I think most of the time, Northwest Colorado.
Oh, no.
Up in that area, no?
Yeah, Wyoming, Idaho, they all have them. But yeah, that was, I guess, the thing was that there were no grizzlies in Colorado for a long time. I believe they were there. People came in and pushed them out. But I mean, Colorado, if you flatten Colorado out, the size of it is unbelievable. So anything could be hiding in there.
I bet there's places in Colorado that man has never even been to.
So I've thought of that numerous times. Like in Alaska, there's got to be places that nobody has ever stepped. There's got to be. I don't know why I always used to think about that.
I would think so. That's like frontier mountain. You can't get. I mean, you'd have to climb days of expedition to do it.
Yep. John Belvedere, thanks for being happy I'm out of COVID isolation. It was a nightmare. Hope it never happens again. I'm so sick of all this COVID stuff. Brutus is a pet. Mountain lion's a predator. With the cooking you do, probably would smell delicious. Yeah. So we've been back and forth in touch with Nick Hoffman from Nick's Wild Ride about coming in, doing some stuff made on the podcast. And I'm trying to do it while he has some mountain lions so I can get him to bring me some of that. Hoping at least. ND says starting a batch of chili as I'm going to watch this live stream. Not that I want to throw gasoline on the fire of an old post, but there's an old post on Meatgistics on what actually constitutes chili that got some people pretty fired up. So if you want to go look for that. Lynn Fletcher's got pork chops cooking with the Spiceology seasonings. Awesome. I'm glad that people are getting a chance to try that. We loved those seasonings. We were super happy. ND Mike, I brought this just for you. This is the Waltons Beanie. So as you can see, it's just, let me make sure it's in the frame well. It's just a gray beanie with black and the Waltons W's nice large in orange. Pretty standard beanie, but it does keep everything nice and warm. We should have an image up on the screen for it now. Not that it really matters, but we're probably going to bring in a mannequin head for all of our hats now. We have a ridiculous number of hats. And instead of having somebody's face involved, we'll just do that. It'll be simpler. So, excuse me. Okay, couple of things. One, I want to pass on a huge thank you from Mike Christensen from Pass It On Outdoor Mentors. Every year they do a couple of big raffles to help raise money for a great cause. They help get underprivileged kids out into the field hunting most of the time for the first time, sometimes for the only time, and give young children a positive interaction with firearms and hunting. So they do great work, easy to support. Right now they're doing their ultimate processing package, which is we've donated to them everything you would need and good size stuff too. It is the 12-inch slicer, the 12 grinder, 11-pound sausage stuffer, 50-pound meat mixer, all the things you would need to be able to butcher or process your own game. They sold 100 and something tickets, 103 or something like that. And then we sent out our email to you guys and they sold 206 in the next 12 hours. So he wanted to thank you guys for that. Really does help. It all goes to a really good cause. Plus, you have the chance of $25 winning you, more than 100 times that in value. So that, I think it's around $2,500 total value in that range. So thank you guys for that. Another thing, Women on the Wing, they're part of something we do with pheasants and quail forever. That's focused around getting women out into the fields and helping them get interested in processing and processing game. Plenty of women, way more women are hunting now than there was 10 years ago. we want to keep increasing that number for many reasons. One, we'll take any new hunter at this point. Two, if I can convince my wife to go hunting, I get to go hunting more often. So it's a win-win. They are a great organization. The Women on the Wing, and specifically the Women, Wine, and Wild Game, which I don't think they're calling it anymore, but that is what we're sponsoring. So I'm going to post a link to both. I think I just opened it. Yep, I just opened it. I posted a link to the raffle for Pass It On, and here is a link for more information for Women on the Wing. I don't know if we have any regular women viewers on these. I know we do on the monthly ones, but these ones tend to be a little bit more, I think, guy-centric. I have no evidence to back that up just from looking at the comments. Okay, couple of things. I talked to Joe Hell, I think 2 weeks ago, and he was mentioning that he got some samples from somebody that were celery juice powder cured sausages. So he wanted to learn a little bit more about that. So I've done some research, not a ton, but some. So we're going to touch on it really quick here. First thing, we're going to bring back in something that we used to have, which is a small pack of the celery juice powder that is designed for the retail user. There are some good things about this. First, SureCure, the 1 ounce package of SureCure and the celery juice powder, they're basically going to be a 1-to-1. 1 ounce of SureCure does 25 pounds of meat. 1 ounce of this celery juice powder is also going to do 25 pounds of meat. So it's simple from that standpoint. But there are some major differences that have to be addressed. First, the USDA does not recognize celery juice powder as a cure. It says it has curative properties, but it's only recognized for use as an antimicrobial and a flavoring agent, not as a cure at all. That's why when you see something that has like celery juice powder, beet powder, they're using as like a cure accelerator and coloring agent now, it'll say uncured product on it. And the one that's funny to us always, Dylan specifically called this out, was uncured bacon. Well, here's the definition of bacon. It says, where is the definition of bacon? Definition. A cured meat from the sides and belly of a pig, having distinct strips of fat and typically served in the slices. A cured meat. So uncured bacon it's tall, short person. It's not, those two things can't go together. So anytime you see anything that's like no added nitrites, not found in nature, things like that, that is the celery juice powder. We've talked about it in the past, how a lot of root vegetables have high numbers of nitrite or high levels of nitrites in them. Nitrites aren't necessarily bad for you as long as they're kept in check. The one way in which they've proven that nitrates can turn into nitrosamine, which is a carcinogen, is overused and then crisped. So don't add too much nitrate to your bacon, and don't cook it till it's crispy. And I mean, you're fine. The nitrates level in somebody who eats a ton of root vegetables is probably a lot higher than somebody who eats a couple of servings of bacon a week. While we're doing that, tomorrow there'll be a post on Meatgistics for the podcast where we're asking your guys' opinion on something. This came up with Patrick the other day. I don't know if anyone's talked to John about it yet, but how many times a week do you guys eat steak? How many times a week would you eat steak, John?
If cost was no issue, I'd eat it 4 or 5 days
Cost
a week.
in your regular life?
My regular life, I may get it once, twice a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
More now that I work here.
Yep. So before I worked here, I don't think I ate a ton of steak, but now I eat it like probably twice a week. And Patrick was saying like that seems ridiculous to him. Even Austin said that seemed a little bit high, but I mean, I'm a 2-ish times a week. Yeah, Ryan says at minimum 1. Well, Ryan has to keep up with his what did everybody cook today post, so he's got to cook some steak to put on there all the time.
If he ever gets tired of it, he can go ahead and send me some of it.
Jim Komorski says he bought 2 tickets yesterday. Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Like we said, you're doing an absolutely great job. That's a skull, not a beanie. Scully. What is technically a beanie then?
I think a beanie, the sides fold up, and like the logo would be on the fold when you fold it up. I don't know for sure. Just a guess.
I think that's an old definition because when I Google search beanie, I see those for sure, like the Carhartt kind, but I also see like the ones with nothing folding up being called a beanie.
I think of
So I don't know.
a scully as like the things that they wear under the football helmets. That
Oh no, see, I know what you're talking about. I see a Scully as like the hats that like have loose material in the back. That's what we called a Scully growing up. Everything's different everywhere. But yeah, so this has a picture of it up now on the website so people can see it's whether you call it a beanie or a Scully. It will keep your head warm. I saw somebody talking about ear warmers. It was Ryan talking about ear warmers. And what's funny is I don't know why they were here, but I grabbed 2 of them like 2 years ago. So my wife and I would wear them like when we were walking the dogs and stuff. I will look for what happened to them. I know one of them Brutus got and just tore all to hell, but the other one I'll try and find. Maybe we'll bring those back. But another thing on celery juice powder, we are in discussions with getting a professor on the podcast about that so we can talk way more in depth about it and have somebody who actually knows what they're talking about instead of me just trying to parrot back things that I've read and barely understand. We're going to try to do that more often. We now have a really good service for remote podcast guests, and it doesn't require any download on their part. It's this service called Riverside FM. We did it on the last podcast when we were both COVID jail, and seemed to work really well. So hopefully we'll be getting some more university professors on that. I don't even remember what that came up from. Ryan's asking why I'm not knitting more, and I knew knit one, purl two, but I spelled it wrong. I guess it's purl is P-U-R-L. I don't know. Oh, that was probably the ear warmer conversation.
I have a nice knitted beanie at home that was made with love and care.
Yeah.
It's really warm, but it doesn't look
Good?
Doesn't look
Well,
good.
All right, so we've got Ryan saying at minimum 1. We've got DM Conley saying 2 to 3 times a week, but only 4 ounce. That's fine. That's about all the people have responded. So I don't know if I'm odd or not saying about 2 times a week, but I honestly, I think it's Meatgistics that made me switch to eating way more steak. I mean, I'm a big proponent, and steak is not bad for you. It's generally everything else that's bad for you. We talked about it on the podcast, and I don't want to get into it. I don't want to recover the things we talked about on the podcast yesterday. So we'll release that tomorrow, and you guys can have a blast. The comment sections on the podcast the last couple of weeks have been a ton of fun. So we'll go ahead. All right, so we've got more people going now. Steak as often as you can. That's a good one. Once or twice a month, 2 times, but we grow our own. Cindy Bouchard says we grow our own. So I'm assuming that means that are you a full slaughter service or are you raising them and sending them off? Yeah, Neil says once a week at least, but it used to be more. That will be coming out in the podcast tomorrow too. Incredible increases in beef in the last 30 days. The cost continues to go up. I was at Dillon's the other day and I saw T-bones on sale half price. I bought all of them, and then I vacuum packed them, and I've got a bunch of them right there in this deep freezer so that we can do things going forward on like the ultimate steak. I want to do like the definitive reverse sear, like how to do it best, like what type of steak you need, like a real deep dive into that. And then one of the things that I was told when we first started with like the reverse sear stuff was minimum of 1.5 inches thick. Anything thinner than that, you don't need to reverse sear it. I think I've kind of disproven that, but I want to do more and put that on video because I reverse heard some pretty thin steaks the other day. They were pretty freaking good at the end. So no bear or mountain lions, only the Jersey Devil. James, are you from Jersey? James, I don't know if you know who this is, but there is a podcast called The Podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and they do like video submissions, and this one guy does one like every day with a new tale from New Jersey, like some lore, and it's really fascinating. There's a lot of really cool things in New Jersey. So when I was talking about my friend in college earlier, everybody thinks of Jersey as just like cities. It is called the Garden State for good reason. I think it has more golf courses per square mile than anywhere else, I want to say, in the world. Might just be the country, though, and it's hundreds of miles of forest. Like, it is mostly a agricultural land. It is not mostly cities. So, something to think about. John says, wondering if a whole cow would be cheaper nowadays. Maybe a group of people to split it. Yep, I'm talking about doing that with somebody. What's interesting is the ranchers are saying they're not even getting their money back for feeding and raising the animals. John, you were talking about some sort of possible collusion.
Yeah, this was on a website called Vox. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I am.
They break things down. A lot of times they're liberal, but
Yeah, whatever.
this was a really good one. It just breaks down the whole entire meat industry beef industry, from how they're raised until they're sold and slaughtered and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they've said that in this video, this particular reporter reported that where they used to go to, like most people, when they buy their cattle, they buy it at auction.
Yep.
Or with the ranchers, when they sell it at auction. So the competition of the auction drives the price up. So what these bigger I don't know if it's meat packing companies, I think it's meat processing companies come in and they have a set price that they buy so much at this set price, and then they don't have to compete with anybody to bid. So they're
Pushing the price down.
Yep. And so when they were selling more at a higher price, now they're having to give up so much of their inventory to that
preset demand. Yep. So don't know if that's true or not, but if you can jump in between that, you're absolutely going to reap the savings. I mean, buying a quarter cow is a lot cheaper than going to the store and paying retail prices for that. We talked about it a few times here, but I am consistently over purchasing beef, chicken, other things, and filling my chest freezer in my basement now, just because the prices are not going down. They just continue to climb. So it's the same thing with like people who bought or kept not buying Bitcoin. They're like, oh, it's gone all the way up. Oh, it's gone all the way up. If the first time I heard about it, when I thought it was too high back in like 2013, I'd heard about it. I'd bought some. I wouldn't be working here anymore. I'd own this place. I would come in. I would buy this place. I would make all the Waltons stay in their current roles. I would just create a new role called me. It would just be called me, and they would all have to report to me on their daily activity. No, I don't care. If I bought this place, I'd want the same people running it. So, please give it to me. Pine Barrens, yes. I don't know what James Bates is saying. Only the Jersey Devil. Yes, Pine Barrens. And horse. James, can you elaborate a little bit? Okay, couple other things. We've got new people who've hit the Meatgistics rewards. What that is, when you hit $500, 500 posts, we have a blue, orange, or the Digi Camo hat with your name. We get it stitched onto the side, your username. Send that to you. When you hit 1,000, we have this nice cutting board. We have your name and the Meatgistics logo burned into here. I'll have to show Austin that. We're looking at redesigning the square Meatgistics logo. Try to make it a little bit easier to read on the go. And I didn't realize that one was square like that, but it is. Anyways, So the two new people who got hats are Herbco Food and John's Brewhouse. New board members are Z Big Jeff, GWG 8541, who I always just think of as the Marine, ND Mike, congratulations. And once you hit 1,500 posts, we get you this nice Victorinox 8-inch chef's knife, and we have the Meatgistics logo and your name etched, but not etched. Some process, we get your name on here. I've used this a ridiculous amount. It's really the only knife I use anymore, even when it's not appropriate for the job. And this hasn't come off at all, so this is really well done. We have a 2,000 post reward. We've ordered those. We haven't gotten the first one in yet. But what it's going to be is like a nice high quality Waltons polo, Waltons something that will get the Waltons emblem and your name on, get that sent to you. Tex and Joe Hell are the two people who've hit that. I've already ordered Tex's. Joe Hell, we're trying to figure out exactly what he wants because he doesn't do polos. I offered maybe send a hoodie and have him do it. He doesn't do hoodies. So we're trying to figure out exactly what he wants. I want to make sure that 2,000 limit is something that the person will actually use, wear, because it is quite an accomplishment. That is a lot of time spent on Meatgistics. For reference, this is my job, and I've been doing it for 5 years now, something like that, right around 5. Oh, God. These captcha things drive me nuts. Traffic lights. And I have manage users, and I have 6,339. But again, this is my job. So they've done a third as many posts as I have, and they don't work here. So. All right. Last thing, or not last thing, we'll talk more, but the last thing I have prepared, I live in Kansas, so I care a lot about Kansas news. Oh, okay, good. That's just, sorry. There's a very racy commercial for YouTube coming up ahead of that video. Very racy. Sorry, I'm flustered. This video is from Kansas. I don't know if you guys know what an alligator gar is, but it is a very intimidating fish. It is like a northern pike muskie on steroids. They have this skin scales that you have to use a sawzall to cut through. I mean, it is a no joke dinosaur, basically. Huge teeth, super aggressive. Well, actually, I can't really say that. I don't know if they're super aggressive. They look super aggressive. They're not in Kansas. They just caught the first one ever in Kansas, and it wasn't a little baby. They caught a 4.5 foot, 38-pound alligator gar in Kansas. So they're investigating to see, are they actually here? Did somebody catch this one and release it? Like what the deal is? But man, that guy just creeps me out that could be in a lake you're in a stream you're in. I mean, he's holding it by the gills, and it's basically to his feet or close enough. A 38-pound, 4.5 foot long fish with teeth like that could do some damage for sure.
Now, regular gar are not aggressive at all. They'll like
So
run.
there's the long nose gar, short nose gar. No, there's a long nose gar and just a gar, right?
Well, what we always called gar, but they looked like they had, alligator mouths. They had a big long snout on them with teeth.
Right, but not, yeah.
But they were
nothing.
only, maybe this long. I mean, maybe 12 inches, 24 inches long, if that.
Okay, so there is the long nose gar, and alligator gar. The long nose gar and the gar are nothing. You don't need to be worried about those at all. The alligator gar, the nose or whatever you would call the front of it, widens out dramatically. It goes from being like, you know what a crocodile is? Like it's a different type of crocodile, and its nose is about as thick as this. You know what I'm talking about? I wouldn't be scared if I saw one of those. I can just grab it and hold its mouth closed, no problem. But I see a crocodile in the water, quite a different reaction. Guarantee you that. Also, we were talking about this. I don't know if people know this or not, but there is a like well-established community of Nile crocodiles in the United States now. And they are apparently spreading. It started out, I'm sure some idiot released it into the Everglades, and there must have been a breeding pair because they started their own like little community, and apparently they're spreading out. The Everglades are screwed. I mean, just, you've got ball pythons in there, you've got rock pythons in there, and there's really nothing to keep their population down, so they're just eating everything. There's a cool Instagram account that I would recommend everyone follow. It's private, but it's called Savage Hunts. They post really great like hunting content, really interesting stuff, and one of them was about the the disappearance of raccoons, rabbits, and something else from the Everglades. They're just not there anymore because the snakes have eaten them all. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right. Now let's see what everyone's talking about in the...
Terry Chrisman, yes, it was a Neosho River down by Parsons is where it was caught.
Is that where they caught it?
Yep.
Okay.
About 2.5 miles southeast of here, or hours east of here.
All right, so Ben H is Herb Co. Foods. We've addressed this in the past, but Ben lives about a mile or so from where I used to live in Houston. Hated Houston, way too humid for me. Ben, however you deal with that, I have no idea. I used to walk from my house to my car, and I'd be just drenched in sweat by the time I got there. And then when you're wearing a suit, you just never recover from that. You feel terrible the rest of the day. I'd have to go see clients, and I'm like, oh, God, I hate this. Anyways, I went fishing at Lake Houston. It was like an hour and 2 hours south. Had a driveway down there. And got there. It was still dark out. Fishing by myself. Walked down on these rocks. And I'm just fishing. The sun comes up. I'm killing it. Catching tons of bass. Having a great old time. And I see what I thought initially were turtles trying to come in. And like a lot of turtle heads. And then I kind of realized, like, no, turtles don't do that. Those are snakes. So they would come in, and I was standing on rocks, and I didn't want to, have them slither through me. So I just kept, like, slapping the water with my pole. And they'd swim away, whatever, no problem. They were just probably some little water snake. But anyways, I'm sitting there and fishing. I've got 1 foot on one rock, 1 foot on another. And from behind me, I just hear... And, I mean, you know what happens to your anatomy when that... And, kind of my vision swam for a second. I'm like, all right, I can either step down, step sideways and maybe get bit, or I could just try to walk into the water. So I walked out into the water and started walking around. So get up there, get back to the dock, and there's 2 old guys who were there when I walked down there. They're like, nobody goes down there. There's snakes all over the place. I'm like, yo, you couldn't have told me that? I walked right by you 3 hours ago. I'm like, are you kidding me? But yeah, so Texas is a fun state, but man, there's a lot of stuff down there that'll kill you.
They were trying to be entertained, I think.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. Brian says those alligator gar get much, much bigger than that little thing. So yes, River Monsters was a show I absolutely used to adore. I'd watch every episode of that. And one of them was him down in just outside of Dallas looking for them in spillways. There was legends of them being, I think 13, 14 feet long. But for a state that's not supposed to have them, 4.5 foot is pretty big. They're not supposed to be here. I imagine they are now. I don't know if they got pushed out or if it's just they're now up here. And I want everyone to know this. They have confirmed sightings of bull sharks up past St. Louis. So let's stop acting like you're safe swimming in rivers in the U.S. Maybe that makes my fear of sharks a little less ridiculous.
Is that in the Mississippi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't swim in the
swim
Mississippi.
right up.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wouldn't swim in the Mississippi.
Have you ever done noodling here?
I've done it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's only certain times a year you're supposed to do it, but yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I got invited to do it through one of my wife's friends, and I was all set to go. And then somebody here showed me a X-ray of somebody who had gone noodling, and they stuck their hand into a beaver hole, and a beaver had bitten their finger off. So I was like, all right, I don't think I'm going to do that now. I think I'm going to just not, because the juice does not seem worth the squeeze there. Maybe in a big lake something like that. But they were talking about going basically on a creek. I'm like, well, you got all sorts of snakes in there. You got beavers, just tons of things I don't want to deal with. So
It was illegal for years and years, and they just opened it up, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, where you could do it in some of the reservoirs around Kansas, but it's a real short window when you can do it.
well,
But there's
legally
people-
do
yeah.
the noodling.
Yeah, but there's lots of people that where I grew up at, they'll just go out and, know the river like the back of their hand and just know the right time to go, and they'll go and.
Wait, I have to address a comment here. Craig Rice says they even eat young deer. I'm assuming that's a callback to the Everglades and not Alligator Gar, because if they eat young deer, oh my.
How do they get up on land first?
Well, no, the deer goes down, and it just like a crocodile grabs a zebra. Same thing. Snapping turtles. We have alligator snapping turtles in the pond behind my house. And I know that because I've seen them up on the road. They get hit sometimes passing. Those things are just little D's. They're not like you try to like push one off the road and ooh, they're snapping at whatever you push at them.
When I was a real little kid, I went fishing with my dad, and we were on one of our ponds. And I was all excited, got a bite, and started reeling it in, and it got up to the shore, and I about pooped on myself. And as it's coming out of the water, I'm backing away, and my dad's grabbing the pole and laughing, and it was a giant snapping turtle.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah.
I caught one in my pond, but it didn't bite it. I was using a rattle trap, which have 2 treble hooks, and it got caught up under the shell, and I was pulling it in backwards, and it was fighting. I knew it wasn't a fish fairly early on, but I saw it, and I just like pulled up real hard and pushed down, and it kind of released it, and the thing swam off. I was just going to cut the line. I'm not putting my hands anywhere near that thing. I'm a bit of a sissy. Like, I'm definitely not tough at all when it comes to like wildlife and stuff. I want to see it, but at a distance. Like I don't need to be up close and personal with a snapping turtle. I don't care about snakes, but I also don't want them like right there. Like if there was a snake at the other end of this table, I'd be fine. But like walking over it, no, I'm not going to do that.
Depends on the snake. If it's a rattlesnake or something like that,
Not really, because the only time a snake is really dangerous is as you're like walking over it. They're not generally going to come at, and like sidewinders and stuff will chase you, but they're not generally going to come at you. They just want you to go away. Have you heard the theory that rattlesnakes are losing their rattles?
No, I have not.
Oh, what is it? There's an animal now that's eating them, that's like chasing them down because it hears the rattle and goes towards the rattle. Somebody in the comments hopefully knows this better than I do. There's some animal now that is eating rattlesnakes, and they're saying that they're either learning not to rattle or they're actually losing their rattle. So, I don't know.
Survival of the fittest, evolving.
Neil says he heard there was a shark sighting in my pond. Yeah, I don't know. That would be it. I'd have to move to a desert somewhere. I don't know. Like I had a whole post going on Meatgistics about a terrible nightmare I'd had about a great white shark a couple of weeks ago. And then that same day, Barstool Sports posted that video, and it was like months old. Like I'd seen that video months ago and then had a nightmare about it, posted on Meatgistics, and then Barstool Sports posted it to their Instagram. And I was like, what is going on? This can't possibly be real life. They have pics of a 20-foot python wrestling a 10-foot alligator in the Everglades. Yup. I'm calling Dr. Charlie Tuna. Yeah. I think it's fear of the unknown. That's what I've come to believe. Like, with anything underwater, I don't know it's there. So I think that's what it is mostly. Yeah, that Jeremy Ridley says, my dumb, goofy dog would totally chase down a rattler. My big dog, and I hope my wife isn't watching this, goes after snakes all the time. Now, luckily, they're just those diamondback water snakes, which are aggressive, but they're not dangerous. And if if it sees him, it scares him. But if he sees it, he goes for it. The first time he ever did it, he was over in tall grass, and he was like just putting, thrashing his head around a little bit. And I just thought he was like onto the smell of a mouse or something. And he finally looked up as I was calling him, and then just dead snake hanging out on both sides of his mouth. He's looking at me like, what? Back to it. So I had to go over and pull him out. So yeah, he would definitely get bit by a rattlesnake for sure. Oh, let's draw some winners. Sorry, guys. I apologize about that. I got busy talking about things that interest me and totally forgot that you guys get to win things. All right, so we will draw active. That one, the live stream. All right, drawing a winner for the artisan apron. Hey, Craig Rice. Craig, I know you're here. You just commented. You have won the artisan apron. Congratulations. I am going to hold that No, we don't have a knife coming for you soon. All right, I will go ahead and send that. We'll get in touch with you, get your address, even though I know I have it somewhere, and we'll send it to you. Winner for a hat, I would recommend the black hat, but you are free to choose whatever hat you want. Tom Nowak. Lots of names we know here. Tom Nowak.
Does that mean a ball cap like you have on, or does the beanie included
Sure.
in that?
No,
Okay.
he can choose whatever hat he wants. Oh, yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, the artisan apron is machine washable. I found the label on it. I had to take a picture of the label with my phone and then increase the size so I could read the words that said machine washable cold. But then Austin also just went ahead and threw his in the machine at home. And he said there was no problem with the little leather patch up top. Did fine. So those are machine washable. All right. So we'll find out which hat you want. You can get any of the hats we have, the beanie, and we'll get those. And I will draw 2 winners for jerky and a seasoning of your choice. The seasoning can be any jerky seasoning, sausage, summer sausage, anything like that. Or if you don't do much meat processing, you can choose a couple Excalibur shakers or one of the Spiceology stuff. All right, so we've got Greg Reuter, and Mike Hinrichs. Mike and I have exchanged some emails. I know that that email address for sure. Okay, so pepperoni. We made some pepperoni. We were doing like a top 5 meat hacks for sausage video. So we did, is Claude on here? Yeah, he's on here. Or he was on here earlier. We did these therapy balls. Hold on, I'll show them to you. We did these therapy balls that Claude kind of clued us into in place of bread to push the rest of the meat down out through the bottom of your stuffer. I think he did it, and I think it probably will work best. Well, I can't even say that. It will work really well with snack sticks because this will fit down that little spigot in the bottom. We got a little bit even better with it because we were doing the large. We wanted to make like sandwich pepperoni. So we put these in there at the end, and they went all the way through the stuffing tube out into the casing. We had to like push up one of them from out of the casing. But we got all the meat out of it. So this is a great meat hack. These were not expensive. I think they were like $9 for a pack of 4 of them. Then we wanted to do grinding really cold meat, not overstuffing on your second grind. So just push a little bit of the meat down there. Adding automotive sponges to a water pan in your smoker and pulling something from the smoker and finishing up in sous vide. So we did all of those on one run of pepperoni. Really, really good. I added 10% extra fat. But I've been eating a ton of like dry cured pepperoni recently, and there's just there's a difference in flavor. Just even though I add encapsulated citric acid to drop the pH, the second you bite into like some dry cured pepperoni, it's just a different, I don't know. It's a different process that's used to cook it. The pepperoni is really good. We got it to slice super thin. So when I say thin, I do mean like super thin. You can see through this. But it's still, it's almost more like summer sausage flavored pepperoni. Yeah. Summer sausage flavored, pepperoni flavored summer sausage. There you go. It's almost more like that. Really good taste, but still looking for that more pepperoni, authentic pepperoni feel to it. So we're going to continue to try a couple of things here. But all in all, it was great. Love it. All right, so that's everybody who was here. What Walton item may be affected by supply chain issues trying to plan for Christmas? That's fair, Chef. So we'll talk a little bit about this, or we talked a little bit about this on the podcast yesterday. All of the Waltons branded stuff we should be good on. We planned well ahead for that. If we weren't to get another shipment between now and Christmas, some things might be tight, but I doubt we'd run out of anything. But there's going to be little oddball things. Like right now, jalapeno pepper flakes, they're impossible to get. In fact, we pulled them off the website. Encapsulated citric acid was real hard to get for a little bit there. There's just going to be little onesie-twosie things that are impossible to predict. But as far as like an equipment standpoint, we won't have any problems. We'll always have a grinder available, a slicer, a sausage stuffer, and hopefully all of the Waltons branded stuff.
Now, I know you're not an economist, and neither am I, obviously, but do you think that once, if we ever get out of the COVID situation where they're saying it's spreading and all that this will calm down and we will be back to normal as far as the business side of things are concerned? Or do you think this is how it is to stay?
This is how it is. Too many people had the realization of not being able to get what they wanted from the supermarket and took control of their own food supply. I think, at least for it to ever go back. Now, from an equipment standpoint, at some point, everybody's got a grinder. Everybody, I mean, from that point, or from that standpoint, yes, at some point it's going to slow down. But from like cheese, seasoning, casings, from that standpoint, I really believe this is the new normal. So, and we get it from two fronts. We get the person who really wants to do it and wants to do it themselves coming directly to us. And we get it from the front of the person who stopped going to the grocery store and now goes directly to their local meat processing plant. Because they, not always, but a lot of times order from us as well. So,
Do you think if we ever get back to normal that the supply chain issues will be solved and those things? I don't know. I didn't know if you had a...
I have no idea on that. I know I've watched, Brett has this thing where he can see all the ships in the harbor, and there's a lot of dots out there, man. There's a lot of ships waiting to get in.
Well, I saw a news story today that said that the union that does the unloading of the ships,
dock workers,
they're going to take on new shifts. So they're going to be doing 24 hours, and they're going to add more people. And like at one of the docks in California, and then I think there was one in New York where they were going to do the same thing, and they were going to hire more and more people in order to get those going.
I'm kind of shocked that they weren't 24 hours already, to be honest. I don't know why I would have thought they were. Obviously, it's much more dangerous in the dark.
I Imagine they probably, if they're union, they probably have to have a bargaining agreement where there's what they can't work more than so many hours a week or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And they probably had to go and redo all
Redo
that.
that.
Would be my
Yeah.
guess. Would
I
be
don't
my
know.
guess.
Yeah, the supply chain issue from that standpoint, I don't know what it's going to take to get that back to normal. So normal, if there ever will be like what we consider normal again. Might not be. People are saying stocked up on everything just in case, working on my own supplies. That's why I buy your stuff. Zombie apocalypse. Yeah, and Ben was saying I'm pretty sure those docks are 24 hours. So maybe it's just some of them going to more. Wait, Sam Spade, seeing any fuzz or mold on it? How long is an unopened high temp cheese good in the fridge for? Found some cleaning out my fridge. So if it's in the fridge, it is good for, I believe, 6 months, but I am looking that up right now. It might be 4 months. In the freezer, it's good for up to a year, but we do have that information on our website. Dun, 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 dun. Cheese, come on, search. Where are you at? Oh, no, sorry. It's 12 to 18 months when frozen, when refrigerated, 60 days. So I would toss that. So I knew there was a 6 in there, but it was 6D days, not 6 months. Quite a difference there. Sorry, there's a lot of information that goes through my head. It's easy to get things scrambled. Looking for an electric food mill for processing persimmons. Any ideas? I don't, but I guarantee you if you post something to the Meatgistics community, somebody will have an idea. Somebody like Process Ed, John Bell, like somebody, there's enough people who have been in enough different food industries that somebody will have an idea on that. So definitely make a post on Meatgistics for that. All right, guys, I'm going to get going. This was actually, well, not that these aren't always fun, but there was a lot of great interaction this time. So thanks for coming. Appreciate it.